Hey there everybody, my name's Trudy, One Grounded Angel. This is the weekly angel card reading video for the week starting Monday, October 19 through to Sunday, the 25th of October 2020. So this is actually my second attempt at this video. I did it before and then I got a phone call in the middle which cut it out. So the cards have already been shuffled. So what I'm going to do for you now is to read them for you. You won't see me shuffling, you're not missing much. I'm a little bit clumsy with them anyway, explaining all the messages, and then I'll get to do the I guess a summary at the end, which is the part that's most meaningful to most people, so I didn't want to upload a video that missed out on that. So Monday's card, the card that's come up is renewing your life. And you can take this very surface level. There is literally someone pushing a box of clutter off a cliff here. If you want to give your house the Marie Kondo treatment, this is a good message to go ahead and do that if you're feeling called to do so. We know that when we move physical objects, get rid of clutter, it really does make an impact on our energy. So it is worth doing. But at a deeper level, this is asking you to make some changes more, I guess more emotional. So thinking about the things that you're holding on to that you need to let go of. Are you still holding out hope that an ex will get in touch with you and renew things? Are you still holding on to a particular way or a habit that you know no longer serves you? It could be anything from smoking or through to, I guess, running yourself down, negative thought patterns. And this is really saying you'll need to let those go to bring in the new changes that you really want. We can't open the door to new things if we've still got the door, you know, full of boxes of old stuff that no longer serves us. This is a really good way to energetically refresh. And if you're in this part of the world, Australia, it is spring and it's a great time for doing that, whether that be practical, as I said, or more at a, I guess, more emotional level. This, Tuesday's card is clear cognizance. Now there are 4 clears. The clears are the ways that we receive messages from the divine. Clear cognizance is all about thoughts and ideas. So if your divine inspiration typically comes up as thoughts and ideas, this is telling you that the thoughts and ideas you've had lately are divinely guided. So there is also clear audience, which is all about intuitive messages that are received as sounds, whether that be, you can literally hear angels communicating to you, for example, in words or spoken form, or whether you hear some other sounds. Clairvoyance is the more commonly known one, I guess, which is about spiritual sight. I'm not particularly strong in that one. I don't tend to get visions. Usually we're strong in at least one of these clears. I'm strong in 2, but there's no right or wrong answers here. Everybody's different. And there's also clear sentience, which is about emotions, getting intuitive guidance for there. So all this card tells you, if you're curious about the 4 clears, you might like to look that up. But all you really need to know about this card is pay attention to your thoughts and ideas. They are divinely guided, so please act on them. And if you're not sure if you made something up, ask your intuition, and then ask the angels to give you a sign. Is actually a really good way. I think that this, I can say something like, angels, I feel like I'm getting a call to go to this particular place. Can you give me a sign to confirm that that is accurate? And then I wait for it. I don't go looking for it, I just wait. And if I don't find it, then I know I've made it up. But generally that really happens. I usually get a sign, because if we're asking the question and we're usually pretty confident about it, but we're just needing a little bit of reassurance. And yeah, we get better at knowing what our intuition is, the more accustomed we get to using it, but we're always going to be human, and so we're always going to have doubts. Wednesday's card, the card that I shuffled, was Sacral Chakra. So the chakras are energy centers in our energy field that energy moves through. Think of them like roundabouts. The Sacral Chakra is the second one, second of the main 7. There's actually hundreds of them, but we focus on the 7 main ones when we're doing energy healing. Depending on your approach, everybody's got a different way of approaching this. The Sacral Chakra is about emotions, creativity, and sex. So some people call it the sex, drugs, and rock and roll chakra, because it is consumed with pleasure and self-expression. Although, yeah, it depends on, different people have different interpretations, so please don't take this as gospel. So this card could be indicating there's some sort of blockage or imbalance in this area of your life. It could be that you are not expressing your emotions freely, which means they are building up until you explode with anger. It could be that you're not doing enough creatively to express what's going on inside. Creativity is wonderful for helping us be present, and it's also a great way for getting more intuitive. The messages that we receive are divinely guided, because all our good ideas, when we're doing a dance, writing a song, writing a poem, doing some art, they are divinely guided. It's a conversation with the divine, and definitely look up Elizabeth Gilbert's wonderful work on this if you're interested. Her book, Big Magic, is fantastic, and the podcast that goes with it. So you might like to look at whether those areas are out of balance. Equally, sexual expression, there are a ton of really unhelpful ideas and beliefs around sex in our society that don't help us, that can load things like shame and really limiting beliefs around sex. So this may be a call for you to examine those if they're preventing you from showing up authentically in your sex life, or if there's some sort of trauma or incident related to sex that is holding you back from being comfortable. That's something you could look at as well with an expert. This card also asks us to look at whether our energy is being loaded up with things that are blocking us, that are of an environmental nature. For example, household chemicals, processed foods, radiation, all those sorts of things can really take a toll on our energy. So you might like to think about if you are overindulging in the processed foods, if you are using a lot of household chemicals that you feel, and we usually know that this isn't good. So really thinking about maybe changing your behaviors on that. Use your intuition on that. Thursday's card is beauty, and it's all about the way you feel about yourself. So much of our ideas about our value are hinged on the shell, the external, and our bodies actually don't determine our worth. They're literally just a home for our soul. And of course we need to look after that home. We want it to be healthy as we can, but we can't go thinking that unless we look a certain way, we have no value in the world. In spiritual terms, our value is all about the soul, and it's inherent. It can't be changed by losing a few pounds or wearing a certain designer label. And so we come up against a lot of really unhelpful societal messages about beauty, and this really asks you to recognize your own beauty. And if you struggle with that, you might like to do some work around that. It's not about convincing yourself you're beautiful, because if you don't believe that, you're just not going to be able to take an idea like that on board. It's not about necessarily convincing yourself to love yourself, because if you've just spent a lifetime resenting yourself or in self-hatred, that's going to be way too hard for you to jump to that. It's about making peace. So not trying to force yourself to be a certain thing in order to feel like you're good enough. It's about trying to recognize yourself as good enough just now. Acceptance, which is, funnily enough, Friday's card. So you might like to look at whether you're aiming too high. Sometimes when people want to focus on their relationship with their body, they're really aiming too high at that. I want to love myself. And that's just a really difficult thing to do. I don't love myself, but I like myself. And I go in and out of that. So we can have bad days as well. It doesn't need to represent a failure. So sometimes we need to look at whether our standards are too high in this regard. Friday's card, as I mentioned, is about acceptance. I think because of that Thursday card that it would be primarily about your acceptance of yourself. If we're wanting to make changes in our lives, we need to start from a place of acceptance, accepting ourselves where we are right now, instead of starting from a place of resentment and self-flagellation. If you can see yourself as good enough right now and still want to make changes from there, that's a really good way energetically to start to attract better outcomes. Starting from a place of I hate myself and I want to lose all this weight, your body's not going to respond too well to that because of the energy that you're sending out. So trying to accept ourselves and be at peace with how things are, and still want to change things if you do, or maybe you don't. Whatever it is, just making sure we're not at war with where we are right now. And also acceptance of other people as well, trying to recognize that everybody's doing the best they can with the knowledge they have, the understanding they have, and that they're on their own journey, and it's not your place to force them to have a certain understanding or to see things the way you see things. So if you're trying to change someone to be the person you think they should or could be, you might like to maybe lay down your weapons around that. Saturday, we've got two cards that both have musical instruments on them. The most obvious one, of course, is play music, which is all about either playing an instrument, if that's something you do, or singing, or spending more time listening to music, because music really does a wonderful job of changing the energy. So, and again, as I mentioned with that creativity message, it is about being present. I think I played the guitar not for very long, and I wasn't particularly good at it. It's not the point. I enjoyed it. What I found was I had to be fully present for that, because if I let my mind wander, I was out of the moment, and my fingers weren't going the right places. So that might be a way to tell you to do something that is pleasurable for you. You can see a relationship there with the Sacral Chakra card. Something that is pleasurable, giving yourself permission to do that and knowing you deserve it. And also looking at, if it's not music, it could be something else. So I think also music can change the energy. So that might tie in with that message before about clearing old energy that is stuck and stagnant. Child, also, I'm just giving you a message of sound healing is really good for some of you to look into. I don't know what's going on with COVID restrictions where you live. It's different everywhere. I used to go to some fantastic sound healing events, but you may be able to do this online. So I don't know that you necessarily need to be present for that. Anyway, if you're interested in that, you already know what it is, and look it up. If you're not, disregard. The child message, as I said last week on Wednesday, we had a card with this exact message. It wasn't this particular card, but a very similar one. The angels always need to remind us that we are children of the universe and that we are being looked after. If you think about most kids, those who are in safe situations, they're not worried about where their next meal is coming from, or what's happening tomorrow, or what's happening in a month's time. They're, for the most part, they're present. They can trust that their needs are being met. And this is what the universe is asking us to do, to trust that we're okay, that our needs are being met. And I know that's not always easy, but we have to surrender control to know our desire to control what's going to happen and know how it's going to be, and instead being willing to trust that we are safe. From that, we can make better decisions. But when we're in fear, we don't tend to make great decisions for ourselves or for other people around us. And yes, there is a literal meaning here, of course, about a child potentially coming into your life, about focusing on having children if that's something that's important to you. And this card's got a mark on it. And also, as I mentioned with last week, those of you who have a child who is struggling at the moment and needs a bit of support, the best thing we can do for most kids is to give them the space to be themselves and not try to force them to be something else, because each generation is bringing through so many more empaths and indigos and light workers. Like this next generation coming through are amazing. They have such incredible spiritual ability. And when we try to force them to bury their feelings and only use their logical mind, we're really suppressing all that beauty that they have, that they're going to need to change the world, and the world frankly needs it. Sunday's card here, Archangel Michael, never not welcome. Michael brings us through some strength, some courage, some confidence, and reassures us that we're safe, which are all things that we really need to help us make better decisions. What this card also talks about is our life purpose. So if you are on a journey towards stepping into your life purpose, I talked about this a bit last week when we had the Earth Angel card. You're going to need some courage to do it, because it is incredibly hard. As I mentioned when I was talking about the kids, it's hard to be different. It really is. You'll be judged and you'll lose friends. I've written about this on my blog. There's an article all about making peace with being different and making peace with being spiritual. I talk about coming out of the spiritual closet, which is a term that someone shared with me at a retreat I was on, and it's so true, because you're coming out of that darkness and into the light, and you're going to be seen by people, and there can be a price attached to that. It is hard. You need Michael for strength and courage, and you also need it to make peace with, as I said, being different, which is something, and I talk about this in the blog post, that I'm not always comfortable with. It is still an ongoing struggle for me. So remember that it's not just about making peace with something or having some learning and realization, and then that never comes up again. It just goes away. Sometimes we go in and out of this longer term patterning that we might have, these fears and these traumas, and that doesn't mean you've regressed. It just means you're reaching a new layer that needs to be cleared and worked through. So looking at the cards, I would say there's a lot about clearing out that which no longer serves us with this renewing your life. I think with the sacral as well, we've talked about some environmental things going on there. I would say clearing out perfectionism comes up here with this message about acceptance and beauty, which are so neatly tied together. Maybe clearing out some of the unhelpful or unhealthy aspects of your relationship with yourself. There's also a message around creativity, which is really beautiful and never not welcome. So thanks everybody for watching. As you know, I post these on my Instagram each week at One Grounded Angel, and you can get a lot more detail there. And you might find that by the time each day comes around, Sunday is a long time away, things might have shifted in your life to help you have a new appreciation for what this card is trying to tell you. And there can be multiple meanings as well. These cards, you can see all the meanings and go, yeah, they all resonate. You don't just have to choose one. Trust your intuition as always with these messages. And don't forget, I'm also on Facebook, One Grounded Angel, and you can reach out to me at www.onegroundedangel.com if you would like to make a personal reading, which I do via Zoom to anyone, anywhere in the world. Thanks very much for watching, and have a fantastic week, and be gentle with yourselves. We're in the last Mercury retrograde of the year, and Mars is retrograding. It can be a little bit rough, but we can do hard things, in the words of Glennon Doyle. Thanks everybody, take care.